welcome to another episode of Gas It Out. You thought we were gone for good, but no, we're back. Unfortunately for you lot, we are here with a really good guest this week for you. Neil, 6-time British Superbike Champion, done the same path as you in that he's doing punditry now. I'm not sure where he is actually, because he hasn't officially retired or anything like that. I'm knowing Shakey probably still harbours a hope of coming back, doesn't he? But Shane Byrne, Shakey, as we all know him, top man and a top rider above anything else, isn't he?
Bloody hell, a proper rider. And did it the hard way.
Oh,
did it himself, no money, scratching around on crap bikes, working for Fast Bikes magazine, just trying to get noticed. But there's one thing that's always stood out with Shakey is he's always been fast.
Yeah.
Crashed his brains out, like I said, but never given, worked hard. And I tell you what a career. Just you saying that, I forgot he's 6 times British champion. You're like, wow.
And it's the span of it as well, though, isn't it? From 2003 to a couple of years ago. And it's like still performing on all that time. And in between those times, there's been bits in MotoGP. He's done stuff in World Superbikes. I'm sure you'll remember him coming up and doing wildcard rides there. Right, he's also waiting in the waiting room. So what we might do is going to speak to Shakey first of all, because that's the exciting bit. And then afterwards, we'll have a little bit of chat about that and a little bit of news update. How about that? How's that sound? Does that work for you?
Let's get him on.
Let's get Shakey on.
I'm happy with that.
You happy with that? I wasn't really asking you. I'm asking the people at home, to be honest.
I'd rather talk to Shakey than you, to be honest, Gav.
Here he is. He's on mute. There he is. Have we got him?
Am I here? Have you got me?
Yes.
You are here. You are there.
What's happening, boys?
How are you doing, Shakey? You all right? Good to see you. Looking well. I say that.
Oh, I don't know about that. Look better than I feel, maybe.
Shakey, are you going to be all right talking to 2 absolute northerners?
Well, listen, just speak slowly so I can get a gist of what you're on about. All right.
Try and get a translator in.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
I've got my phone here in case we need some Google Translate going on.
Hey up.
Exactly.
I'll do. We can see you obviously because we're on this Zoom call. There's going to be people listening in audio, but just to paint a picture of where you are, it looks like. Is that a front room or is that an office room? Because I'm just loving the look of all those helmets behind you.
This is kind of our living room. If I unplug that, just basically, hold on. So, the living room just kind of goes off and around there.
Oh, there we are. Nice big picture on the wall as well.
Very nice.
All looking very, very nice. All those,
to be honest with you, it's all Petra's doing. It's nothing to do with me. If it's my way, if it's my way, there'd be nothing out at all. But she loves it. There's like some championship winning vests and stuff, and
superb.
All sorts of shit all over the place. Yeah, I'd rather it. I'd rather it was not there at all. But I'm cool. If she's happy wife, happy life, right?
If the boss is happy,
so true, so true.
The employees will be all right. Shakey, how are you anyway? How's it been through this whole lockdown and looks like maybe back into something similar in the meantime? How have you dealt with all that? How's that been for you?
To be honest with you, I think that it can go. It went one or two ways for most people, didn't it? You either went like a complete train crash and just ate and drank and, do you know what I mean, just turned into a mess, or, you kind of got your head down, roll with it. I looked at it that it was basically free time with the family, turbo trainers in the garage. So sat on that, done a little bit every day. That kind of kept me semi-sane. And then, just spent a load of time with Petra and the kids. And, you know what? We had some incredible weather. I should have put. That's not very professional, is it? My phone buzzing away, and it's Matt Roberts. Perhaps he was maybe coming on so that he could help me translate between you two and I. That's probably what it was. But we had some great weather and just kind of, sat in the garden, played with the kids, and just kind of rolled with it. But I think saying that I self-isolated is as such is maybe a bit strong, but we were certainly more careful than most and just kind of kicked back at home. And we have a little farm shop near us where we can get sort of meat and vegetables. And I went there sort of once a week, and then everything else was delivered to the house. And we just sat in like hermits and just chilled out. So
are you still down in Kent? Is that where you still based down
there?
Or?
Yeah, still down here. Yeah.
Very nice.
So yeah, it's all right. The most difficult thing, we've got a place in Spain, and we went to go out there to stay out there because I said to Petra, look, you know, if this country's in lockdown and you know nobody can do nothing, we might as well at least be down there in the sun and you know what I mean, just chill out, even if the rules are the same. But we never ended up getting out there and haven't been since February. So I'm busting my balls to get back out there.
I can imagine. Me too, actually. I missed it. You know, we haven't been abroad, have we, this year? And you want to go to the races for starters. But it's just that.
Seems right. I tell you what, I thought you'd actually be on site for, you know, for Misano and some of the other races. So I was quite surprised to see you still up at it's the Triumph Factory, isn't it? You go
that's
to.
where we're at in Hinckley. Yeah. I think just with all the rules and regulations, it was decided that we could probably do it better from a studio. You know, right? Because there's so much you can't do. So you're so limited with what you can actually do.
There's been some people in the pit lane though, hasn't there? Like when you watch your coverage, I've seen like a few guys, like, you know, when Quattararo's pulled in or whatever, there's been a couple of guys there talking on camera and stuff like that, and it's just seeing you guys in the factory.
Does it? It's one of them. You were looking at it, and it's like, imagine you're there, you've got a mask on, it's red hot, and actually at one point we were told actually the presentation we'd have to wear masks. So we were like, actually, if we go out there, it's going to be much harder for everybody. Plus, actually, the show will potentially be worse for it during these difficult times. So it's a bit of a team meeting about it.
Honestly, do you know the way I look at it? You know, when you think about, you know what England's like, right? We're a flipping nightmare as a nation, aren't we? And, you know, we'll get to like November, there'll be a snowflake on the road and they'll shut the flipping motorways and it will just turn into a drama, right? Well, when this whole lockdown thing started, said to Petra, mark my words, give it 3 or 4 days, they'll realise it's a load of nonsense and we'll be back at it and it'll be fine. But then, like, maybe 2 months in, we got to that point where it was like, oh, there might not be any racing full stop this year. And I was like, flipping hell, like, this is real. But now, it doesn't really matter, you know, for us three. You know, as long as the racing's happening, then we've done something right, haven't we? And, you know, we have to be in little bubbles at work, and, you know, we can't go out and socialise in the evening, which is really strange. And, you know, obviously there's no fans in at the races, which is really weird. But at the end of the day, racing's happening, and as long as racing's happening, I guess the three of us are happy.
Yeah, that's it for us. I think people at home as well, if you can get your racing fix in some way, that keeps people happy, doesn't it? How are you, by the way, Shakey, injury-wise now? How was your neck and everything now? Because, you know, I don't know, I haven't spoken to you in ages, so I just wondered how you were getting on.
Well, you know, I'm hoping I'm not too far away from finding out full stop, because, you know, I texted my surgeon just recently, actually, and I was like, look, we're on first name terms because I nag him that much. I'm like, Andy, you do realise I haven't actually seen you now for like 11 months or something. And, you know, when he used to say to me, oh, you just need some time. You just need some time. We need to see if you're going to heal up, or, you know, we need to, you know, work out sort of risk versus reward in terms of more operations and stuff like that. When he used to say, you know, come back in a couple of months, I could kind of deal with that, especially if it was around summertime, because obviously we go away for a bit and, you know, you have a little holiday or something. And then, you know, that couple of months passes and then you really look forward to the next hospital meeting. And I had lots of meetings where I kind of went there thinking, you know what it's like, right? When we hurt ourselves, we do absolutely everything we can, probably more than we ever should, to make sure that we come back as quick and strong as possible. And, you know, when not being disrespectful, but when a normal person hurts themselves, you know, they go see the doctor, they get signed off work, they sit indoors, mope about for a bit and think, well, I've got 6 weeks now for a broken fingernail, and, you know, once that fingernail heals, I can go back to work and I'll be signed back on or whatever. But we
really
go like,
hurts, Shaky. It really hurts.
Yeah, well, no, I get it. Listen, I'm not trying to be tough or nothing, but what I'm trying to say is that
killing me.
we end up doing like, you know, hyperbaric flipping chambers. We end up laser field therapy, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything we can do. Like, you know what I mean? We do. And there's been a few times when I've gone at it, like literally full gas, thinking, right, I'm going to go in there. And when he sees me again, he's going to be absolutely blown away because I've made so much effort, you know, with physio, with absolutely everything. And I've gone in there like ready for him to be like absolutely astounded at the results of my scans and whatever else, only to be told, oh, actually, nothing's changed. And like when you make that much effort to try to be better, and then you get there and actually what they say is, oh no, now you need to wait 6 months. Like there were a couple of points throughout that recovery where I was just like, what else can I do? You know, I've gone above and beyond to try to be as well as I can, as quick as I can. And actually it isn't working. And it was a bit of a shocker because there's been a couple of times, and maybe you'll appreciate this, Neil, where, you know, we're so used to going in and being told, wow, you're so fit, that's why you recover so quickly and stuff like that. And there was one time when I went in, when he told me I had to come back in 6 months, where he said, you're not 25 anymore, Shane. And I was like, hold on a minute. I might not be physically, but in my head, I'm about 5 years old.
Yeah. And what's the damage though? What we're talking about? Is it your spinal cord? What's your vertebrae? What's the issue?
So essentially, the problem was at the bottom of my skull, like squashed and shattered the top 2 bones in my neck. And the top 2 bones in your neck are like the bones that basically are like an armor shield for your spinal cord. So the reason for having to wear that mobile phone mask thing was that if I'd have had a sort of knock on the head in any way, shape or form, there was absolutely zero armor for the cord itself. And, you know, it doesn't take a genius to work out what happens if you give your spinal cord a bit of a whack. But what they're trying to work out at the moment is whether or not the metal work that I have in my spine at the moment is impinging some signal, or if the damage to the spinal cord is that bad that basically, you know, my brain, and I've got a little one, tells some parts of my body to do things. And those parts of the body know that they need to do their thing, but the signal between coming from there down to wherever it needs to go to just keeps getting lost. So it's causing all sorts of problems, and like, you know, stupid things like can't go to the toilet properly, can't do this, can't do that. And I think that I've got a scan coming up on my skeletal part of my spine, if you know what I mean, to measure all the bone density and to see if, you know, any of those kind of fixations are sort of tweaking something, and that's what's causing the problem. And then I've got an MRI that's hopefully going to look at the spinal cord itself and, you know, see if the damage there can be, you know, could be rectified. But you know, when the doctors kind of say something along the lines of, oh, you know what, there's so much about the spinal cord and the nervous system that, you know, we as human beings just don't understand yet. It doesn't exactly inspire you with confidence to think, right, okay, so does that mean I'll have a shit tomorrow or not? Because, you know, it's been sort of 2 weeks now or 10 days, I could really do with a download, but they just don't seem to have the answer at the moment, which is it's tough. I feel like
it's a massive worry, isn't it? What a worry that is, Shakey. Because we become not bulletproof, but you're just used to smashing yourself up, getting it fixed, like you said, doing everything you can personally back, and you're just like, doesn't bother me, I can do this. But this is different, isn't it? Bloody hell.
Well, this for me, I think one of the funniest ways I've found of describing it is like living life on a roundabout. But the problem is the roundabout at the moment has no exits. So sometimes I'll get onto this roundabout and I'll go into drift mode and I'll be like flat out round and round the roundabout, you know, elbow down, knee down, drifting, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, looking for this exit to appear that's going to say, right, okay, well, what we need to do now is we need to do this, or, you know, this scan has showed that. So if you take that exit, we can go that way. And if you take that exit, you know, we can go that way. But it's really difficult when, you know, you just keep going round and round and round thinking, right, I've done my bit. I'm going to go there. They're going to be amazed with my recovery. And you get told, no, actually don't come back for 6 months. But as it stands right now, it's just over 11 months since I last saw the surgeon. So you can imagine the last 11 months, you know, some days you feel like you're making a bit of progress, and then you get shot back down again and realize that actually you've made absolutely no progress. And then, you know, the lap starts and away you go again. So it's difficult. But
is the plan, and is the plan, Shakey, to, I mean, have you retired? Are you still thinking, actually, if I can find this exit off this roundabout and they say that I'm going to be okay, I'm going to give it another year's, you know, one more BSB title? Or are you like, do you know what, actually, the more I think about it, the more time that goes by, I'm probably going to call it quits?
I'll tell you what's really odd, and that is that the sort of closer I'm getting to hopefully getting that exit, if you like, the more sensible I'm becoming. So, you know, almost like the further away I've got from being a racer, the more rational I'm becoming, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I'd love nothing more than to get like the all clear for them to say, yeah, no, it's all right, we'll take the metalwork out, and yeah, if that's what you want to do, go and ride again. I'd love nothing more than to come back from that accident, you know, one that sort of essentially almost cost me my life, if you like, and win another race or two, and just be like, right, now I'm happy. I've done my bit. I've proved my point. You know, all of that physio, all of that sort of, you know, all that stuff that I did to try and get better clearly worked. I'd love just to be able to ride a motorbike, to be honest. I'd love to be able to jump on my bicycle. I've got some flipping cool bicycles, but I daren't go out on the road at the moment because can you imagine doing something like really stupid and just like slipping on some gravel on a road bike or something, falling down, and then, like, you know, when the doctor says, oh, you know, it's kind of drilled into me how fragile I was, certainly in the beginning. And, you know, when you find yourself worrying if you slip off the edge of a curb and, you know, your body kind of hits the tarmac and you think, ooh, and then you stand there like that for a minute and you think, is it going to be all right? Is it going to be all right? Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's how I've spent the last sort of 11 months. So I can sit on a turbo trainer in the garage, and even I can't crash one of them. So, you know, I get to do my little bit of exercise, but it's, it keeps me sane, but keeps me moving as well, you know. But I just need to, I think I need to get to see the doctor, see what the latest news is. I mean, after 11 months, there can't not be news. Do you know what I mean? There has to have been something that's happened. So, yeah, hopefully it'll be good news rather than bad, and then it becomes my choice again. Because at the moment, it just feels like, well, it's in the surgeon's hands, and if they say go, then we can, and if they say actually you're a train crash, then, you know, we'll have to make a plan to look to do something else properly, you know.
Well, fingers crossed for you, Shakey, definitely, and on all that side of things. I don't like the sound of you becoming more rational. That sounds wrong to me.
Well, you know, do you know what, right? When you like, people see the outside, don't they? People don't see the inside. And actually, in some ways, writing all that down and doing the book, right, in some ways that was like, you know, they say sometimes when you've got, oh, look at that.
That book.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, when you do that,
hang on,
and
hang on,
you're not going to put one out as well, are you?
Mine hasn't. It didn't.
It didn't. Is it never arrived?
Is that a DVD cover?
It didn't arrive. No, it didn't arrive.
That's my Hollywood blockbuster. It must be. Do you know what? It's a flipping long way to Lancashire or wherever it is you're from. It's obviously en route and just not quite made it yet. Yeah, writing it all down actually was good, and I did last week. I had to do the audio book version of it, and the weirdest thing was that there's a section in there about the time when I lost my dad, right? And I read it and it made me cry. Again, it made me cry when I wrote it. It made me cry at the time, and it made me cry reading it. And it's sort of, you know, when I said I've become a bit more rational, when you have the chance to write down some stuff that's gone on in your life, and I think about, you know, some of the stuff that's happened to me since this injury, and some of the, like, there was some dark dark, horrible times. Do you know what I mean? But I think that doing that and writing about it actually made it all a little bit better. Do you know what I mean? Made me realise that, you know what, there were some horrible nights, there were some horrible days, there was some horrible pain, there was this, there was that. But right now, I can't go to the toilet properly, but I can walk and talk and cruise about and, you know, feel relatively happy. And yeah, fingers crossed fairly soon they're going to say, well, do you know what? You want to go for a ride on a motorbike on the road, go for a ride on the motorbike on the road. Or if you want to go and do this, you know, you're not going to literally snap in half if you trip over, sort of thing. And I think that getting off those eggshells will be like a massive boost, you know.
It's cathartic as well, isn't it? It must be it's almost like a therapy, isn't it? Being able to get that sort of stuff off your chest, I suppose. But you have, I mean, it is, I'm pleased you got a book. I have to be honest, Shakey, I haven't started it yet, so I've got it sat here.
Flipping hell, Gav. I thought you would have done your research. I thought you would have known when it comes to this kind of thing.
You would expect that I would have done that, wouldn't you? But
well, I won't
mention
any more about it, and then you can read it, and then you can just put this fantastic review online for me, because you being you, that'll sell like another 6 million copies, and then and then it'll be really good.
But
hey, Shakey, I'm waiting for the audio version.
Hey, I wouldn't, because then you got to listen to me dribble on for God knows how long it took me to read the thing. It's not as straightforward, you know. Like when you sit there with something in your hand, and like you read a book, and you think, you know, you go through it and you don't actually speak, and because you don't actually speak, you don't make any, you know, grammatical mistakes or whatever. You know, you just kind of get on and do it. Then you read what you see. Well, when you've got a producer in your ear, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't say that very well. Go back and do that bit again," and it was like, you know how many pages we got left? And it's like every time I got going, I'd mess something up. She's like, no, again.
How long does it take? So, how long does it take to do that?
It took me, I think it took 3 days in total. And yeah, it wasn't too bad. The first sitting, I did like 10 chapters, and then we kind of broke down the rest, because I think there's 26 chapters and an epilogue and whatever else. So yeah, it was a shift. It was one of them things that, you know, when you'll know this all too well, Neil, right? You know, when somebody says to you, in fact, you told me this, you said, like, as soon as you stop racing, like, there'll be people that come to you and say, oh, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And you think, yeah, that'd be a great idea. Well, this was one of them, right? I thought, right, I've kind of, Matt and I have done the book. You know, I spent a lot of time smashing a keyboard to pieces, trying to make it sound like me. So when the publisher said to me, "Oh, you know, do you want to do the audio?" But I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that. How hard can that be?" Do you know what I mean? A few quid in the bank, job's a dream. And then, like, sort of 2 days in or something, I thought, "Oh my God, what have you signed yourself up for?" But
it's the worst thing you've ever agreed to do. I said to Gav the other day, we were talking about, and I said you were doing you doing the audio recording. And I said, Gav, if I ever do a book, you can do it for me. You can read it out for me, because Gav's got a great voice anyway.
Exactly.
And it'll just sound better coming from Gav.
Do you know what's so strange, though, right? I'll tell you what's so strange is, like, I asked the guy, I was like, I sat there and I read it, and I tried to read it well, and I tried to, you know, to lift it up and bring it down when you know, whatever mood was going on in the book or whatever. And I said to the guy at one point, I said, "Oh, can you do us a favor?" And like, we weren't that far in. I said, Can I hear what it is you're going to send to the publishers? And he says that when you do something like that, when we hear our own voices, there's some signal that goes from your jaw and it goes up into your ear, and you don't actually hear yourself. You hear what you think is your voice, but what actually comes out on recording or TV or whatever is something different. And he played this thing back, and I was like, I don't know how many chapters in, but I thought, now sound terrible. Sound absolutely terrible. And I've got like God knows how many chapters left to do. So it wasn't. Hopefully people will like it, but we'll see.
There will be, because undoubtedly there are tons of stories from throughout your career. But I know there'll be stuff from before your career. Especially Neil mentioned it actually before you actually came on. How when you were sort of getting started in racing, it was Fast Bikes magazine. That's where sort of people knew you from. And there's all sorts of videos emerging now of times and the sort of stuff you got up to back then. I bet there's tons of stories about that in there, isn't there?
Well, do you know what the irony of that is? I think one of the first times I actually met Neil and got to sort of hang out with him a little bit was at Knock Hill in '98. Do you remember when you'd gone down somewhere over the back of the paddock to practice wheelies on your scooter. And
Yeah.
I come from the fast bikes thing, and that was all I was interested in, really. I weren't really that fussed about racing at that point in time. I was just like, as long as I can wheelie the scooter better than anyone else. And I went off this little secret location to practice, and who was down there? It was Neil. And I was like, oh, it's Neil Hodgson. This is cool. Do you know what I mean? We're going to do some wheelies together. So, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, the fast bikes thing was great, you know, because, you know, I'd sort of travelled as far as the end of the council estate before, you know, before fast bikes happened, and I remember so many funny little things, like getting this piece of paper sent to me saying, right, you need to get on this flight to this place called Nice, right? And I thought, that sounds lovely, that place, and not realising that Nice was actually Nice and whatever else. It's like, it was unbelievable. Like I'd sort of jump in a car, like go to an airport that I didn't have a clue where it was. I'd have to sort of stop halfway up the motorway just to make sure I was going in the right direction by looking at a map in WH Smith's or whatever. Think, right, okay, it's got to be the place. And then, you know, I'd get to this nice place and be like, flipping hell, they don't even speak English here. Like, what am I supposed to do? How do I get to the next bit now? And there ain't no WH Smiths to look at the maps and stuff. So I was like, I was as green as they come. But yeah, what an adventure. Flipping hell, we had some fun. We had a lot of fun.
I can imagine that. And
God.
I was going to ask as well about other things that will be in the book, actually, because I want people to hear that it's, you know, I want it to be a good bit of publicity for the book and that. But I'm thinking now, do you know what I was thinking the other day? Was about KTM winning the first MotoGP race, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't have done it without my help.
That's what I was going to say.
But
a lot of people will not remember or might not even know that you were there.
I've been
first
trying to get it since 2005.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's when, I mean, you'd obviously been there a little bit, and there was times with the Aprilia and whatever. But for me, when you were thrown onto the Kenny Roberts KTM collaboration, was a bizarre old time, that, wasn't it? And you sort of forget now. If you see where they are now, winning a couple of races, it's incredible.
Like I said, they'd be nowhere about me. That's no, I'm joking. Yeah, it's so strange because you know, KTM are a great manufacturer, and I think, you know, if all of us, even you guys who you know cover MotoGP and have done for the last God knows how many years, right? You know that championship, you know how competitive it is, you know everything about it, right? And if somebody had said to you that, you know, one day KTM are going to be winning MotoGP races, you'd have been like, yeah, okay. You know, they might do in Moto or MXGP or whatever, but, you know, this is different gravy. This is MotoGP, and there's a lot of manufacturers with a lot of experience. But when essentially what happened back in 2005 was they put a proposal to Kenny and said, we got this engine, you know, this guy from Formula One's built this engine. Yeah, it's going to be a weapon. It's a V4. It's going to make a load of power. It's going to be dead linear. The torque curve's going to be perfect. You know, we think with your chassis, you know, until we get some knowledge of our own, we think this is going to be a fantastic collaboration. And you know, let's get it done. And you know, 2004, obviously the Aprilia thing fell apart. You know, Piaggio bought them out, and that left me kind of high and dry. But Carmelo and the Dorna people were like, look, you know, we really want you to stay in MotoGP. It'd be fantastic if you could stay. We'll put together a great deal for you. You know, we're not sure what manufacturer it'll be with, but, you know, you'll be on a decent bike in either a very good satellite team or a second rider in a factory team, and just please stay with us. So I was like, right, okay. And then, you know, long and the short of it was that, you know, this collaboration happened, and you know, I was signed by KTM to be the rider in Kenny's team. But, you know, if you took two completely opposite ends of the scale and put the Aprilia on one end, you know, the KTM was completely the other. Like, you know, the Aprilia just sort of felt like it wanted to kill you as soon as you sat on it. And the KTM, by contrast, was like, you might just well stick it on cruise control at 80 mile an hour and ride it up the motorway to Lancashire, because it just didn't really feel like it. You know, it felt so docile and so soft and so, I don't know, almost unassuming. You know, it wasn't like a race bike engine. There was no reward for wringing its neck, and there was no reward for kind of riding torque and trying to be smooth on it. In fact, there weren't much reward, full stop. I think I scored one GP point on the thing at Laguna Seca, and that was to beat James Ellison on a flipping WCM Yamaha R1, whatever it was. So when there was a big fallout between Kenny and KTM. You know, they were like, "Oh, we need to change the rider. It's the rider's problem. The rider's not riding the bike properly. Our engine's fantastic. You know, it's the best engine that could be built. Blah blah blah." But Kenny was super cool because he came along to Mugello, and he sat there and he said to we were in this meeting, and they were basically pointing the finger at me saying it's Shakey's not riding it. And he's like, I've been out on track. And he said, I won't do the accents. I'm crap at accents. But he was like, no, he was like, you listen to me. He says, I've been out and I've watched Shakey. He says, I watched Shakey brake where Valentino brakes. He said, I watched Shakey turn in where Valentino turns in. He said, I watched Shakey let off the brake when Valentino lets off the brake. And he said, and I watched Shakey get on the gas where Valentino gets on the gas. He said, do you want to know the difference? Do you fucking want to know the difference? You know what Kenny's like. Yeah. He's like, when Valentino gets on the gas, the bike goes forwards. Do you know what happens when Shakey gets on the gas? Nothing. It's your engine. Do you know what I mean? And like just saw them a new arsehole. And that was like one of the proudest moments in my life, because you've got a guy that came over and completely revolutionized GPs, you know, with his riding style, and you know, he's renowned for kind of bringing over all the Americans with with unbelievable amounts of talent and whatever else. But for him to sort of stand there and fight my corner, I was like, yeah, it's your engine. It's not me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, cool. It was like all of a sudden I felt really empowered by Kenny Roberts. It was fantastic.
Yeah, but bloody hell, what a man, as you say. But to work with, I'd love to have been in a meeting with Kenny Roberts, because I can imagine just what he's like. There was no holds barred whatsoever in any.
Well, yeah, you imagine that, and then the complete contrast of being in the meeting with the Austrians, you know, who are so kind of straight laced and so straight to the point. You know, if their laptop said that black was white, you know, black was white. That was it. There was no grey. There was no thing. You know, it said that, and that, you know, they followed that to the book. So yeah, the contrast of the two with Kenny, like, shut the fuck up. You know, this is what's going on. It was almost amusing to be sat in on it.
Well, Kenny could get away with it because he was Kenny Roberts. So Kenny Roberts took no bullshit off anybody and called a spade a spade. It was like, no, this is what I think. Yeah. Where other people couldn't quite get away with it. You know, if you talk to
it wasn't
KTM even like that, they'd have been like, who do you think you're speaking to?
Yeah, it weren't even this is what I think. It was like, this is what I know. Do you know what I mean? There was no no element of doubt in it. He was like, look, I'm telling you now, it's not Shakey, it's the engine. And shortly after that, it all parted company. And
what happened? I can't remember what happened with.
Well, they took. Do you remember? Yeah, the next GP was in Brno in the Czech Republic, and they ended up bringing their V5 motor and bolting it back in. But I was contracted at the time to KTM, so I couldn't ride the V5 of Kenny's. I had to basically go on the dole for the weekend. And that was it until, you know, it became apparent that Troy wouldn't be rushing back from the Camel Honda job, and then I got a couple of skids around on that.
What was that like, Shakey, getting on that Honda?
Do you know what the funniest thing was? One of the funniest things about getting on that bike was, do you remember back in like 2004 when they first introduced them Pitlane limiters to the V5s, and we'd sit in the garages? I mean, you were riding for Danton, weren't you? And I was in the Aprilia garage, and you'd hear like Sete or Valentino or any of the Honda guys come down pit lane, right? And they do this thing where they'd hold this button on it, and just like, and it sounded so cool, right? I thought, I don't care if all I get to do is ride that bike to the end of pit lane, making that noise. I just want to ride this Honda, right? And I sat in the garage, and I'm ready to go. Like, my helmet's on, levers on. It was Malaysia, you know. The board was counting down, and I'm thinking, right, any second now, here we go, this is it, let's have a little go on a Camel Honda and see how we get on. And I remember nobody moving in the garage, and then Alex Barros was my teammate, and he kind of got on his bike and rode off, and you know, the rest of the pit lane went off, and that noise started happening with all the Hondas riding past, and I was thinking, I can't wait. I was getting so excited, and nothing happened still, right? And I'm like, this is flipping weird. I don't know what they're playing at. Like, I need some time on this bike. And I'm sort of sat there, and I'm like looking around, thinking, you know, any danger? You can whip the tires off and tire warmers off, sorry, and let's get going. But next thing I know, like, everyone's come around at the end of the first flying lap, and Cito Pons comes over to me and he says, Shakey, do you not want to ride the bike? So I'm just waiting for him to get going. He went, you're in a MotoGP team. You tell them when you get going, not them tell you. And I was like, bit of fucking time, warm us up, let's go. Do you know what I mean? And just shot out a bit like away we went. So, yeah, I'd been sitting there thinking, well,
yeah, but what was it like, Shakey? What was it like? Was it worth it?
Oh, mate, it was gold, absolute gold. I loved it. The first race, the GP there in Malaysia was hard, like really difficult, because you can imagine, you know, they got this standing rider. The last thing they wanted to do was go away from, you know, where Alex had been or whatever. And, you know, the bike was so different to the KTM. And I was like, oh, you know, it needs to turn a bit better, or it needs to do this and it needs to do that. And Honda were like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, oh, this is my big opportunity. At least give me a fair flipping, you know what I mean, throwing the dice or whatever. But I'll tell you who was the coolest person in the world that weekend was Mick Doohan, right? Because he was in Malaysia and he came and spent so much time in my garage, right? And you can imagine, I'm like completely in awe of the guy. Like, he's Mick Doohan, and he's kind of come in to tell me, listen, he says, there's European guys, there's Americans that get to spend 2 seasons on these things and don't figure it out. So don't be thinking because, you know, they won't make one change for you that they don't value your opinion. It's just the way Honda work, and they do this and they do that. And I'm sitting there, yeah, righto, Mick, no problem, mate. Whatever you say, you know. It was so surreal. But yeah, first GP was a disaster. I think I just beat Ruben Zaus, your old teammate, on the Fortuna Yamaha, and then the second one at Qatar went quite a lot better. I think I finished 12th or 13th or something. And Sito had already said to me, right, I want you on the bike for the rest of the year. And I thought, well, this is my ticket, right? I've got like 3 or 4 more GPs. Let's get amongst it. But you'll probably remember. Do you remember when Chris Vermeulen was riding for Hansbury Honda in World Superbike? And there was a lot of talk about him coming to MotoGP on the Suzuki. And Honda basically said to him, look, we'll give you the camel ride at Phillip Island for your home MotoGP if you sort of do 1 more year for us, and then we'll move you up when we're ready. So he took that ride. Sito called me and said, look, you know, they're going to give Vermeulen the shot because they don't want him to sign for Suzuki. He did the wild card in MotoGP and then signed for Suzuki anyway. So then Sito was back on to me, right, do you want to do the next GP? And I was like, yeah. And then I remember getting to Valencia, actually, and Sito had said to me, right, come down to Valencia. I really want you to ride at Valencia. And I thought, do you know what? It's going to be in Europe. It's the last GP of the year. Do you know what I mean? It's basically hospital or rostrum. You know, I'm going big. And I got there, and flipping Kianari was wandering around with a pair of my Alpine style levers, and because he'd done so well in DSB as a reward, they gave him the ride. So I drove the motorhome all the way to Valencia and never ended up getting to ride the bike anyway. So yeah,
it's so interesting that though. That's the reality. What people never see, what they see is Shane and Shakey Byrne and think, oh, he said loads of opportunities. You know, it's probably been pretty easy for you, but that's the reality. That's what it was like, and you get lied to.
It still is, isn't it?
You know what I mean? You just being used at time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's bloody hard, isn't it? You know, and it's very tough at times.
The way I see it right now is that you know, MotoGP and that championship's in a really good place, right? Because, you know, if any of those guys hurt themselves, there's not an abundance of riders that could jump in and do the job that the MotoGP teams might expect to do that job, right? And it doesn't matter, you know, everybody will look at it and think, oh, you know, the bikes have got traction control, they got this, they got that, how hard can they be to ride, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is it's MotoGP, they're the best riders in the world, and they get treated accordingly and looked after accordingly, and so they should. But I think when you move down a level and you go to World Superbike, for instance, if, I don't know, let's use any rider in World Superbike gets hurt, then it's quite easy to find a rider from a national championship that will go in and do a sensible job. I mean, not to knock anybody, but look at Hickman last year when he got the call up to ride the BMW at Donington Park. Done like a really good job, you know, finished in the top 10 first time out. But I think that the riders at that level get that little bit less well looked after, because if something goes wrong, there's another person that can jump on the bike. And then you get to national level, and you might be able to do a fantastic job at national level, and you might be able to win races. But if you get hurt, even if somebody can't do the job, they'll fire some money at the team, and your job will be gone before you know it. And everybody thinks, the job's safe, and you sign your contract for a year, but a few bad results, and you can see pendulums swing very quickly. Look at Alvaro Bautista last year with the Ducati team. Like for the first 11 races, he was like God's gift, and the answer to Ducati's problems. He had 2 crashes and then a massive fallout, and then before you know it, he's changed teams and changed manufacturer. So it's a funny old sport, our sport, but I guess that's why we love it, isn't it?
That's why we love it, because it's so up and down, it's so unpredictable, and everything's unpredictable this year, whether it is GP, Superbike, British Championship as well. But going back to that British thing, your success spanning 15 years and 6 championships there. So of those, which do you look back on fondly? Or is it even one that you didn't win that you look back on more fondly? I don't know. Where is it that you look back on with a bit of, do you know what? That was when I was on my game, or something like that.
Do you know what? Honestly, I would swap 15 British Superbike Championships for one of the ones you've got. I wanted to be World Superbike Champion. That was my dream. When I won in 2003 for Birdie, I wanted to step up and go to the factory team in World Superbike and try and win there, because if life's a journey, my journey was, my sat nav was set to being a world champion. That was all I was interested in. I wanted to come from nothing and turn myself into a world champion, and it never quite happened. So I sometimes look back and think, well, you won 6 BSB titles. That's fantastic. But I never wanted to be a BSB champion. I wanted to be a world champion. So it doesn't matter if I win 20 BSB titles. They don't add up. You can't part X them for a world title. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's the one thing about my career that I find really hard to accept, because I feel like with the right opportunity, it could have been possible, but the right opportunity never came along. And that's like the whole thing we were talking about a minute ago with, the way our sport is. That's the nature of the beast. Sometimes you need that lucky ticket, and it might not even look like it was that lucky ticket at the time, but circumstances come together. And look at the 999R thing that you won your title on. It wasn't the bike necessarily to be on. You had Frankie Keeley, who kind of went back to a 998 halfway through the year because just couldn't make that 999R work. And then as soon as the 1098 came out, that was like the golden ticket, because the thing was phenomenal. And if you'd have had that the year before, you would have absolutely cleared off and destroyed everybody. But that's what I wanted to jump on. I tried to time it that I'd get on something that was going to be the thing to get on, but obviously wasn't intelligent enough to make that happen. Jumped on stuff when it was a bit late.
It isn't that, though, is it? Because we've seen it. We see it time and again with people. Some people are in the right place, right time. Some people aren't. And it's this. How many times I've already said it here once. This sliding doors. That moment where just the way certain things happen sometimes in our sport, isn't it? I think in all sports, really.
And you potentially get an opportunity when you're not quite ready for it, and that maybe was the golden opportunity, but you didn't realise at the time because you were still developing. It happened to me earlier on in my career. I got a couple of opportunities, and I look back over my career and think maybe I could have had a much better career if I'd have made the most of those, but I couldn't because I wasn't a fully developed, ready rider to win world championship races, and you didn't get the opportunity, Shakey, in 2003 when you beat me at Brands Hatch. Obviously, I didn't race with you that weekend because she absolutely destroyed me. But that next year, if you'd have got the factory Ducati World Superbike ride, you'd have battled for the world championship. If not won it, you'd have battled. You know what I mean? If you'd have won it, I don't know, but you would have battled for the world title, and then your career would have taken a different path, wouldn't it? But
and do you know what? The one mistake I think I did make was, when I was you were talking earlier on about MotoGP saying, we would need you to stay in the championship, blah, blah, blah. And, when Dorna are showing you love, it's not like you just say, no, it's all right, I've got another date. Do you know what I mean? But at that point in time, at the end of 2004, there were some mega opportunities for me in World Superbike, like almost not the pick of the field, if you like, but that's that's perhaps the one mistake that I look back on in my career and think, should I have hung around for the MotoGP thing, or should I have sort of followed my superbike heart and gone and tried to win a World Superbike title then? You know, would we be, you know, discussing the same career if I'd have done that then? But, you know, it's like anything. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. And for the last 20 odd years, I've been paid to do the job that I dreamt of doing from as young as I can remember being. So it's not really been all bad, you know.
Hey, Gav, do you know what's interesting, Gav, though? And you know this anyway, because you spent your life around the paddock, but you get someone like Shakey, whose career you look at, and it's absolutely amazing, but he's an out-and-out winner, and all he can focus on is, you know, what he wanted to achieve. But like, think how many people would cut the right arm off to win one BSB title.
Yeah, you know, I know, but
you know what I mean. It's like
compete in one race.
No, that's a good point. Actually qualify so you could compete in one race and score points in one BSB race, and you've won 6 titles, and you go, yeah, it's all right, but that's why. But that's why you.
But that's why you've been
successful. But because it's never good enough. It's like
it's drive, isn't it?
Drive.
It's that full sportsman's competitive attitude, and that's why.
Come on, you're making me blush now. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else.
Go on then.
I've got a coffee here that's going cold as well.
Have a sip on that. And what about then? Because now you're a pundit. A lot of the time, you're doing a lot of stuff talking about BSB and World Superbike. Where is it all at now at the moment? Because MotoGP, we'll see, it has gone. You know, no one even knew if we were going to be racing. Yet not only are we racing, but it's pretty wild out there. World Superbike is, you know, on any given day, you feel like anyone can win. Johnny seems to come out on top more than anything. In BSB, it is like chuck everything at the table, and I don't know what's going to happen here.
Do you know what I see? I see a kind of parallel in some ways, because for me, with Mark not being there at the moment in MotoGP, it's like everybody's actually believes they can be MotoGP world champion, and they're all like going at it like balls in china shops to try and make that happen. And in World Superbike, for the first time, you got somebody kind of semi-consistently taking it to Johnny. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to anybody in the championship, but, you know, I think World Superbike lined up this big Scott Redding, Jonathan Rea showdown, and certainly until the last couple of rounds, it looked like they kind of fallen on their feet, because, you know, one weekend Scott would be leading the championship, and the next weekend Johnny had it back. And, you know, the problem I see is that beating Jonathan Rea over a race, or maybe even over a race weekend, is one thing, but beating him to a championship is something completely different. And moving sort of down or across, or whatever you want to call it, to BSB now, you know, there's no showdown. So there's no, you know, we just need some podium credits and then we'll start pushing on at, you know, whatever point in the championship, round 9 or whatever. They've got 6, this is where it gets confusing. They've got 6 rounds to go at 18 rounds to because they call it in the rounds, the races they're calling rounds at the moment for some reason. So they've got 6 events to go at 18 rounds, which are going to be, I don't know if I've turned up and won a BSB round, but yeah, they've got this time to basically you know, try to become British Superbike champion. And all of a sudden, the guys that might have played the long game in the beginning and thought, well, you know, as long as we score a few podiums, we'll have some podium credits or points, whatever they're called, at the end of the 9 rounds, and then we can go again. Just like, well, do you know what? We've got these 6 events we're going to turn up at. There's 18 races, and whoever wins the most of them is going to be champion. And, you know, I think, you know, it's happened the whole way through motorcycle racing. Like, it's been condensed, and everybody just wants to treat every corner like it's the last corner of a world championship event, and they're all trying to win everything, aren't they? And the racing for it has just been absolutely astounding. Yeah, I reckon they should fire Marc Marquez off for a while and just condense every championship right down, and we'll have like a brilliant championship forevermore in all 3 classes.
I was saying that. I said Dorna should club together somehow with some sponsorship and pay Marquez out Just say, listen, we know you're getting up to 20 million for riding, but here's 30 million. Will you just please sit on a beach for another year?
Do you reckon you could sort that out with Stuart Higgs and Jonathan Palmer for me? And I'll just take a back seat for a little while.
Talking about BSB though, Shakey, like you were then, who's your money on? Because I've watched every round. I've got to say, I'm obsessed with BSB. All the classes as well, because it's chaos, isn't it?
Yeah.
But who on earth's your money on? Because I wouldn't have a clue where to go with that one.
Do you know what I think the best thing about BSB is at the moment? I think that the best thing about it is that nobody knows. You know, we genuinely, in the past there's been, look back to your Doohan days or your Rossi days or when Lorenzo was on form or even Mark a few years ago, there's been seasons where you kind of turn up and it's almost a foregone conclusion. It's a little bit strong, but you pretty much know that bike's so good and he's so good on it that he's going to do that job or whatever. And, everybody else is basically trying to keep up. Well, 2 weekends ago, we had Taz McKenzie win a race at Silverstone and looked like his season had turned around. And then he went to Alton Park and had a really difficult round, but then his teammate won a race. And I said, actually, on the Saturday, that if Jason could back that one race win up with a win on Sunday as well, it could well set him up for a good run at the championship, because Jason's probably one of the most unlucky riders in racing, full stop. If he falls off, it's always more than a fingernail. Do you know what I mean? It's never just a little kind of slip or whatever. He generally kind of hurts himself. But he did go and win that race on Sunday morning, and then was right in the running in the final round as well. But after this, we go to Donington Park, and he had a really strong Donington Park, and then we go to Brands Hatch, where the Yamaha traditionally has worked really well as well. So the championship went from being kind of, with Glenn Irwin 30 odd points in the lead, and now there's like 4 riders covered by 12 points with 100 and God knows how many, 150 odd points up for grabs. So it is literally wide open. If you asked me at the beginning of the season, I would have said Josh, because Josh was riding on the same team, on the same bike, albeit a slightly improved version of that bike. Knows his guys, knows what he needs from the bike, knows everything. Why wouldn't you go with Josh? But they've got all of them have new tyres in BSB, which is quite a lot different. The compound, the construction, the size of the tyre, everything's different. And it seems to me like everybody who knew how well their bike could work last year can't make it work this year with those settings. So they go away to try and make the tyre work, and then go look at a lap timer and see that the lap time's slower and think the thing's crap because of it, but don't actually realise that if that's the lap time that's going to win the race, it doesn't matter what the lap time is, as long as it wins the race. If that's the best feeling you're going to get, then that's what you got to run with. But I think there's a lot of riders that are turning too much into engineers and trying to sort of reinvent the wheel because they got a new tyre in, when actually all you need to do is get to the checker flag first and let your sensations and your feelings dictate the way that the bike setup goes, rather than trying to, create whatever it is they're trying to create to make it work.
Yeah,
that's a long way of saying I've no idea who's going to win.
Basically, yeah. It is. I went off on a bit of a tangent, but then I do love a waffle me. So,
but that's what it is, though, isn't it? And I think it was funny when you talk about it there. How many different winners is it in BSB? Is it 9, 10? Something like that.
I think we're at 8 at the moment.
8, okay.
8 or 9, yeah. But I think what can you put it? I think the potential for that to be the case every season is there. But it's like Neil said, sometimes things come together and sometimes they don't. Generally speaking, when it's a showdown, it ends up being a battle between 2 people. But right now, it's a battle between 4. Let's see what happens in 2, whatever we're going to call them, events or rounds or whatever they're called nowadays, time, and see who comes out on top. But I think that all of us in every championship and in life in general just need to get through what is a really kind of strange time at the moment, an awkward time, and just kind of see what happens post COVID, if you like, and get back to normal and look forward to more of the same.
Yeah, I think it's a case of making the most of what we can while we can. Really, that's it. Everything's a bonus.
Shakey, what are your thoughts moving forward? Life after racing, let's say you're going to call it quits. I know you do a bit of management already. Obviously, you do your TV work, which you're really good at. Would you run a team or anything like that? Like you're interested in academies, or are you happy to do what you're sort of doing?
Do you know what? Honestly, at the moment, I've not detached myself enough from still wanting to be a rider to entertain the thought of doing anything other than being a rider. This opportunity with the TV thing and doing the management thing has been basically, I'm just trying to be you. That's the long and the short of it, isn't it? I mean, this. I'm still looking up to Bill Hodgson.
Shakey, you need.
I still want your
help.
world championship, right? I still need.
Hey, listen. I could never wheelie a bike like you, though, Shakey. I always wanted to be you. So let's,
I think that once we get a better idea of where I'm at health wise, then the call will have to be made. But I do kind of want to pursue something with the same sort of vigor, if you like, that I tried to pursue, during my career. But I just don't know what that is. Doing the management thing's cool. Having a potentially a way of bringing along a young British rider and turning them into the next MotoGP guy would be fantastic. Being a team boss, I'm not so sure that'd be a bit of me. I think that would be a lot. When we were talking earlier on about people not realising what goes in behind the scenes, I think that might be a little bit too much like hard work. But yeah, the TV thing's really fun. So I guess we wait and see what happens from the surgeons, and then make a call one way or the other, and sort of go from there. It's so hard to even entertain the thought that my racing career might be over, that I tend to avoid these kind of questions or these kind of thoughts, because I just don't want it to be over. I rocked up 2 weeks before that crash and won my race, or won a race, and was ready to win another championship or 5 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'm not ready. I wasn't ready to stop then, and I'm not ready to stop now. It's just that, maybe the part of me that's not ready to stop is my head or my heart, but it doesn't quite understand at the moment that the rest of me is perhaps not up to the level that its desire is at. You know what I mean? So it's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one.
I hope you get what you want, Shakey. I hope it all sorts itself out. And I hope, having not seen the surgeon for 11 months, there's some good news around the corner. I've got a sneaky feeling there will be.
Yeah.
Well, no,
they can't not be.
No. No more negative news.
No, it can't. You can't spend that much time like trying to be careful and doing the right thing and eating the right things and trying to be the sort of best version of you that you can possibly be, and there not be a change. Whether or not it's enough of a change that's going to sort of dictate that I can do this or I can do that is a completely different matter. But at the end of the day, there has to be some sort of change. And if that some sort of change is that, yes, you can do this, but no, you can't do that. Well, at least then I might not flipping worry about every single sensation I have, or, every little problem I might have or whatever, and think, oh no, this is it. I ended up going to hospital the other week because I've been having loads of problems with my stomach and my bowels and stuff, right? And I hadn't convinced myself something sinister was going on, but I was more than a little bit worried. But when you kind of go in and you're getting this scan done and they're like looking around and then they go all quiet, I was like, oh my god, please tell me everything's all right. And it was just a case of like, well, I'm just the guy that does the scans and stuff, so I don't really, I can't quantifiably look at what I'm seeing and tell you that it's good or bad or indifferent, but it doesn't appear to be anything really bad. And just being told after feeling like new pains every now and again, like being told it's not what you probably dream, it's not the worst thing that it could be, it wasn't, and that was really nice. So I think that just to see the surgeon and him to say, well, you know what, this is that, but it's not that. You know, even that would be nice. Just some direction. You know, maybe start a little slip road off the roundabout for me, even if it don't go nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just get off that bloody roundabout.
Machine out, ready to go. Yeah,
you're getting dizzy. Gav's had very similar problems, and he had a scan sort of down there. There were some issues, and then they found out that he does have an ingrowing penis. So at least at the end,
I was waiting for you to say he was pregnant or something.
We knew.
Look,
I'm lighting the mood.
All bought and paid for. All right. Right, Shakey. Well, we better let you crack on and continue with the rest of your day. It's been cracking to talk to you. Actually, really enjoyed that. And
listen, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. I spoke to Charlie just real briefly. I spoke to Charlie Hiscott at the weekend, and I said to him, I'm going on Neil and Gab's podcast thing. And he's like, it's doing really well. You'll have a great time. You know, they're great boys. You're going to get on really well. It's going to be fantastic. And, you know, for Charlie to get excited about anything must be good. Do you know what I mean? So,
how cool's Charlie, though?
Yeah.
We all love Charlie, don't we? He's like one of the legends in the paddock. He really is. Super Charlie.
You can't not. So, he was right. I've really enjoyed it.
Did they add extra blue in your eyes on the?
No, he has got. Yeah,
I reckon they touched him up a little bit. I got one of them like gay light things behind me, so that I look like. You know what I mean? Nicer than just dark.
Shakey, do I text you my address or do I text it to Matt's Robert?
Send it over. But you got to give it. You got to tell you what you got to do, right? If I send you a book, you got to right in the middle of interviewing flipping Alberto Puig, which is going to be boring anyway. You can just tell him about my book and say that. Yeah, Alberto, have you read this? Do you know how good this book is? See what he says about that.
I'll do it.
Tell him he won't get arm pump reading it either.
Right, mate. Great to speak to you. You take care of yourself, and we'll catch up soon. Hopefully, in a racetrack at some point.
Sounds good to me.
So.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Shakey.
No worries.
Take care, mate.
Appreciate it.
Take care, boys.
Mate.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Oh, we're always buzzing, aren't we? After a conversation like that, it's how can you not be happy? Well, I know obviously there's some negative parts of that conversation and shit that he's going through, but
oh my God, I mean, you don't think how something like it, where he's talking about what an accident happened 2 years ago or whatever, 18 months, however long it is, a long time ago, and still he's got the drive for starters.
Oh God, you can clear. Gav, can you tell why he's been successful?
Yeah. Exactly.
Just a machine, honestly. Just a winning machine, in everything he did. But it's that attitude, isn't it? Like you talk to him like that, and you think, yeah, I can tell why you're good.
And that's why you feel a bit more for him, don't you? In a way, in that he feels clearly that his ambition or his dreams got taken away from him in a couple of ways, whether it be one through injuries and being able to continue racing or whatever, but also at times making choices which, not necessarily all his choices here and there along the way. And I was fascinated by it. What
happens, and we've talked about stuff like this before, in hindsight, when you look back, it's easy because you go, I shouldn't really think that right then. But at the time, you took it because of all the information you had, for example. And at that time, it was when he talked about Dorna, it was being courted by Dorna, and they were going to look after him in MotoGP.
They did, because they needed Brits in MotoGP.
Exactly.
He was the top of the Brits, actually. He was
absolutely
at the time. It was like, right, well,
yeah. So of course he thought, actually, no, I mean, I've got a golden opportunity, and don't waste this opportunity, which was the right thing. But then that meant it to pass up on some great World Superbike opportunities, which if he had have taken, he probably would have won a title.
Well, that's it. And I think you're right in that. The way you have to look at those sort of situations, I think you're absolutely right, is of the information I had at the time, I made this decision for this reason. You can say, I possibly should have made another decision. I possibly should have done this, or I possibly should have made this choice. But at that time, I made my best decision.
Yeah. And it's like looking back at your life relationship-wise, not getting deep here, but like oh no, Neil, don't mention that. No, but like everyone would look back at their life and think, like if you're in your mid-40s like me, think of all the relationships you've had. At the time, it seemed like a good idea, but it wasn't the right thing to do. You know, in hindsight, you'd be like, oh, I wasted 5 years of my life there, or 2 years there, or whatever, you know, and that's what your racing career is the same, really. But in fact, it's nothing like a relationship. There's nothing like it.
Not when you're still a virgin.
Well, I'm waiting for the right girl to come along.
So he mentioned a lot about.
Oh, BSB. Sorry, was that a confession, Gav?
So he mentioned a bit about BSB. We're up to speed on where we are with that. Superbikes. Last time we saw Chaz Davis was up there being successful. Michael van der Mark was impressed by him, but Johnny Ray overall taking charge, isn't he? There over in World Superbike. Yeah,
critical point in the season, sort of 3/4 of the way through the shortened season, and Johnny Ray doing what Johnny Ray does. You know, I'm having a tough weekend. It's not quite working for him, but he scores the big, still decent points, but also he's in front of his main opponent, which is Scott Redding. And now that gap's growing, and it's just like, you know, they're going to Magny-Cours next. It's always cold there, mixed weather. And if it is mixed weather, Johnny's amazing in it. You know, I've seen him win races around there in the wet. I've seen him win races in the dry. You know, it's like, yeah, your money's on Johnny, isn't it?
Yeah. And in MotoGP, Neil, 6 different winners in 7 races. 7 races still to go. Top 4 separated by 4 points. Dovy's just had a 7th and 8th or whatever, and he's still in the championship. What's going on?
Oh, God, what is going on? It's just bloody amazing, isn't it?
I've never known... In some ways, it's a mess, isn't it?
It's a good mess, though, isn't it? Yeah. Because every weekend, like, obviously, this weekend, it's Barcelona, Catalonia, there's always great racing around there. I have not got a clue. Me and my mate Dickie, who I've not mentioned for a while, we always have a £20 bet, and it's not who's going to win, but it's who's going to beat who, you know. And last weekend he went for Valentino, which was I said you're just doing that. That's your heart's betting this one. But I saw him earlier, and I went, "Who are you going for this weekend?" And we've decided that we're not going to bet until after FP1 because we haven't got a clue. Because you just don't know. You don't know if KTMs are going to work. You don't know if Alex Marquez might find more form, who beat Dovey in the last race. Yes, you heard that right. It's the most bizarre season.
It's like no one wants to take a hold of it. That's what's confusing me.
But they all want to take a hold of it, but it's that close, and it's such a golden opportunity for all these people to talk about Shakey, talking about, you know, your life goal is to try and win a world title. Well, that's what we're talking about now, but this is MotoGP, and it's there for the taking.
What does it say then about Mark being away? You're joking about, let's pay to keep Mark away, but you know, I get the feeling that we've actually been seeing this the last few years. Like, you know, last year Mark was first or second in every single race.
Yeah,
and the others were. The problem was no one was consistently putting it up to him. You
know, no.
One week it might have been Dovey. Next week it might have been Quartararo. Maverick might have done it somewhere here. And it's that, and that just shows actually where he's the different level, doesn't he?
Yeah, he is. But we've said that, haven't we, Gav? Yeah. How many times have we said it? And how many times have we been criticised for it? Oh, you love Marquez and all that lot. Actually, we don't love him at all. We'd rather him not be racing, really. You know what I mean? So it's more entertaining.
In a way, yeah.
In a way. Marquez is that good, yeah. But the problem, you've got the same problem in World Superbikes. They need to get rid of Johnny Ray, don't they? If Johnny Ray wasn't in the World Superbike Championship, wow, it'd be wide open, wouldn't it? But Johnny is better than everybody over a season, by miles, really, and not on the best bike.
So you still happy with your prediction you made last time out about Fabio Quartararo over Dovey?
Yes, but it's closer now. I thought Quartararo. I made that prediction. Well, you know, we did that bet before the 2 Misano rounds, and I thought Quartararo is going to win both of them, and he's going to grab hold of this championship and be the dominant force going forward. Instead, he looked a bit flaky. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Oh, sorry. I just had a beep in my ears. I think it's my...
running out of battery.
Yeah. So
And then we go to a circuit like Barcelona. The thing is, Barcelona, some people, I mean, it's a great track, and we expect, I don't know, all sorts of bikes can work there. The Ducati can work. You've got a lovely long straight that will work. And the Yamaha actually has parts of the track. I know there's been years where Yamaha have dominated. Recently, Yamaha have had struggles there also. I remember a couple of years ago, was it where Maverick and Valentino dropped right back? But that was with hot conditions, with lack of grip. Well, we're going there in September, and I know September, it can be cooler. It's probably going to be about 20 degrees, 20 to 25. It's going to be a bit like Misano in terms of temperature. So does then that bring it down? Does that bring Yamaha into? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a leveler. It's going to be a leveler. The Suzuki's going to go well. Mia's on fire. Like, if I was to bet now, and that's the beauty of this season, I'd put my money on Mia for the championship, which is bizarre because he did his first Grand Prix in 2016. He's not had a long Grand Prix career. He's a young lad.
But I will say, if you spoke to any of us at the beginning of the year, I remember we did a press day at BT, and I remember we were all being asked about, who's your favourite, and we all said Marc Marquez because we're not stupid. Because you would say Marc Marquez,
yeah.
But then everyone would ask who. And I think most of us said Suzuki in some way. Most of us suggested that Suzuki have really
good all-round bike.
And actually, I know I said Mia, and I'm pretty sure you did, because I know we've had similar conversations with people in the know in the paddock and what we felt about Mia for a while. But the fact that it's actually come back round to where those sorts of predictions are there or thereabouts. But even that, I wouldn't be confident about it.
No. There's no one you'd be confident about. I mean, Mia started the season with, in the first 3 races, he had 2 DNFs.
Yeah. One of his own doing, which is the first one. The second one taken out, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? As in, and now I'm sat here going, my money's on Mia. It's just a bizarre.
Well, he's got had the run of results, hasn't he, now? But, it's going to be...
All I know is I can't wait for this weekend. And we'd have to wait long for it now. But I haven't got a clue who's going to win. Like, Shakey ain't got a clue who's going to win BSB. We know who's going to win World Superbikes, but I ain't got a bloody clue who's going to win MotoGP, which, like I say, is amazing. I sort of love it.
And we've got 7 races still to go, and it's going to go down to Portimao.
Hope so.
We hope so. Right, that's where we're at pretty much. Valentino Rossi's going to sign this weekend in Barcelona. The world is round and goes around the sun, so I'm told. So apparently it's all normal, honestly, despite the fact that it doesn't look like it in MotoGP at the moment, and coronavirus is what it is. Right, Neil, thank you so much.
Thanks, Gav. Thank you very much.
There was some technical dropouts of yours during Shakey, so it got a little bit flaky, so apologies for that. It is
I lost you a few times, but
you were saying beforehand your Wi-Fi was
I don't know what's going on with it. It's seized.
We need to get you a fibre cable put in there.
Yeah.
Do you know any companies that do broadband? Do you know of
I couldn't think of any off the top of my head.
Right. Well, maybe do some investigation. Right. So, well, I will see you at Triumph, and I will.
See you in 2 days' time.
Speak to everyone else very soon indeed. Thank you so much for following.
All right.
Do you know what we just need to do?
Oh yeah, the giveaway T-shirts.
The giveaway of the T-shirts in there. So why don't you sing a song in the meantime while I just...
Thank you, by the way, for everyone who retweeted the 5 in 5. Really appreciate it. Saw lots of people retweeting it, which is all positive, getting loads of good feedback. So if you could keep doing that, and we'll do another competition. And this time, can we do, if you do a hashtag Shakey's new book, maybe?
All right, Unshakeable.
Yeah.
Unshakeable.
Hashtag Unshakeable. And then...
Have you got some Shakey giveaway stuff?
Yeah, we'll give a Shakey book away. How was that? Shakey will give us one to give away. I know he will.
Oh, yeah, he would do. Yeah, he definitely
will do.
Right.
That's if he sends me one.
Right.
Actually, I'm not even joking when I said I'm going to listen to the audio for when we're traveling and all that lot.
Yeah,
well, obviously, definitely. I know we're not traveling this year, but I love that. I'm going to save that up for when we're traveling. When you sat on planes and it's boring.
I feel bad that because I haven't got it here, and I wanted to read it before speaking to Shakey.
You said you weren't going to read it because you don't like the guy who wrote the book. You said he's an absolute prick. What?
Shane Byrne.
No. Gav's best mate wrote it, Matt Roberts. So JD
at Highside John is what I just flicked, went through.
Yeah.
High side, John. I hope you haven't had a high side. He's got a lovely picture of him wheeling on there. So, JD, get in touch with me on Twitter, all right? And we'll send you out some Triumph goodies. So, yeah, hashtag Unshakeable. Retweet this one. We quite enjoy that as well.
Yeah.
Right. See you later. Speak to you soon.
See you in 2 days. I love you, Mum.
Bye.
Bye.